Story 1. Entitled Passenger on a Flight. I was told that this story belonged in this subreddit. This story happened a few years ago, so details might be a bit hazy. I was returning home from a trip that I cut short due to a family health emergency. The flight was pleasant, but I was in a bad place mentally. I did what I usually do in situations like that and kept to myself, saying few words. I plugged in my headphones and started to listen to some podcasts during the 2-hour flight. Over the sound of the podcast, I heard someone speaking loudly in a pretentious nasal voice talking. I pulled out my earbuds and heard a guy arguing with a flight attendant about how he had asked for something several times but didn't get it. I didn't really care and tried to ignore him, but he kept going, asking the flight attendant for her name and telling her that the airline company must hear about it. I don't remember what he wanted, but it was some kind of drink they didn't have available for some reason. I returned to my podcast and raised the volume. 10 minutes later, by the podcast timer, he was still ranting in his annoyingly pretentious way about professionalism, respect, and giving customers what they want. I switched to some rock music to drown him out and saw the captain coming over to talk to him. He was flailing his arms around like spaghetti. My worry about my hospitalized grandmother gave way to anger, and I started fantasizing about all the different ways I would shut him up. The captain walked away with a frustrated look on his face, and the flight attendant started serving the other passengers and ignoring his attempts to stir up trouble. I think they got him some alternative drink, which he never touched. We landed, and I put my earbuds away to get ready to leave. He was first in line by the airplane door, and I was right behind him. The door opened, and an airport security guard was standing there to escort him through the tube. I followed, and by the end of the tube, a higher-ranking guard was waiting for him. He stood blocking the way out, and I saw that other passengers behind me were fed up with this guy who never shut up for more than half of the flight time. He was arguing about how terrible the crew and service was, and how he never had service this bad. He kept saying he needs to leave now because his family was waiting for him or some similar non-reason. My anger was starting to boil. Should I shove him? Bang my pulling bag onto his leg? Punch him in the back? Would everybody clap? I had to head straight to the hospital, and everyone behind me had places to go. I've heard many stories about people like him online, across many different channels. Nobody would feel bad for them. But this wasn't only about them, it was also about who I am and what kind of person I want to be. I took a couple of deep breaths to calm down as he was telling the guards how to do their jobs. And with the most aggressive tone I could come up with despite my stress and exhaustion, spoke up. Get the fuck out of my way. That F-bomb was enough to stun him, since everyone else was following a code of conduct required by their jobs. And for the first time since I noticed him, he had nothing to say. The guards took advantage of his silence and started to move him away, hopefully to some back office where he will be delayed for a few hours. I left the airport and headed home for a quick shower and a change of clothes before going to the hospital. My thoughts kept going back to that entitled guy and how he thought he could be a pretentious and rude guy with people whose jobs require them to be polite. Politeness never works with them, and sometimes meeting someone who thinks they're scum is the wake-up call they deserve. Story 2. I'm sorry for not giving you right of way. God, I need to vent. Me and the Hubs were on the way to his former job's corporate office to return equipment. He was unfortunately let go. Our spirits were already down today. We turned out of the driveway of Corporate Building 1 as his supervisor was waiting at Corporate Building 3. Oops, we got lost in the maze of buildings and roadways. We're heading down the road, already driving on the roadway, as we're passing Corporate Building 2. A lady in her nice GMC SUV starts to pull out from the stop sign at the driveway of Corporate Building 2. Husband is slowing down car to turn into Corporate Building 3's driveway, which is right next to Corporate Building 2's driveway. Lady continues to pull out and T-bones us in the back passenger door. We spin out, and as I'm screaming and holding on to for dear life, my husband, being the absolute champion he is, does everything he can to make sure we don't slam into the road barriers or a tree. Thankfully manages to stop the car in the middle of the road and drive it into Corporate Building 2's parking lot. We get out and I'm immediately sobbing. This car is our only car and is really old, a 2007 Chevy Impala. It was in excellent condition for its age and has no major mechanical problems. Back passenger tire has parts of the SUV's bumper in it and is going flat and losing air. Rim is also screwed as well. Back passenger door is dented inwards and can no longer open. At this moment I am still sobbing, but remember I need to call 911 immediately. I do so and they send out an officer. Husband asks other lady if she is okay. Turns out she's 7 months pregnant and tries to pin it on us by saying she thought we were slowing down to turn into corporate building 2's driveway where she was. I call my family, who thankfully talked me into getting my head screwed on straight. I contact a tow truck and the insurance company. Police officer reviews footage as corporate building 2 had cameras facing the road. It is decided the other driver is without a doubt at fault. Sounds great, right? That I'll get my car fixed through insurance. Not. Our state is a no-fault state. The most I'll get is $500 to $1,000 from her insurance after making a claim with them. I only have PLPD insurance on my car because it's so old. It would cost thousands to have collision coverage on it because of how old it is. Now here I am, at home laying in bed, with only slight neck pain and a headache from the accident. My family has thankfully arranged a rental car for us for a week and I'll pick it up tomorrow. I know it's fortunate than most, but I can't stop thinking about how the car I have tried so hard to take care of and maintain and love so much is just out of commission like that for a couple weeks. This on top of my husband losing his job, being the only income for us. We just remind ourselves it'll all work out in the end. We've got our game plans. We've always been like that, having a safety net plan. We'll be okay. But today was like things you only see in movies. Losing your job, getting into a car accident, finding out insurance won't cover much to fix the damage. My husband says we should write a novel. Well, that's my rant today. Thanks for listening. Edit. Just to add real quick, my husband talked to her more than me as I was in tears and inconsolable. I am diagnosed with pretty chronic anxiety. My mind goes to the worst instantly. I worry about everything. I fear a lot, especially financial problems. I grew up below the poverty line. He said she kept repeating she was 7 months pregnant, and she was very passive-aggressive with him when explaining she thought we were slowing down. She even tried to explain that to the officer, basically anything she could do to make it seem like she was justified in going off her assumptions. She T-boned us so hard because she was going straight across the road to corporate building 1's main driveway. We came out of 1 further down the road. Edit 2. Okay. I am more shaken up. I blacked out when realizing she was speeding up and about to hit us, so I don't remember anything leading up to the actual hit. I remember the hit and swerving but not before. My husband told me it turns out the only reason she hit us in the back was because he swerved so hard, because he saw she was about to hit the passenger side door, which is where I was sitting. She could have pinned my legs or caused other serious injury. He said he preferred her to hit anywhere else and it was like instinct just took over him. Only her front bumper came off, nothing else was damaged and she left driving her car. Lucky her. Last edit. We don't have money for a lawyer. Husband lost his job, which was our only source of income. I'm not really keen on going after a pregnant woman in court, not to mention I don't think it'd hold up. There's really only 3 reasons you go to court in my state. Loss of limb, loss of job, or loss of life. None of that has happened. I'll just have her insurance pay out as much as I can get from them and call it good. Story 3. Roommate's entitled mother causes chaos and gets me evicted. L. Edit. Fixing spelling mistakes since. Oops. Also, clarification. I am male and a rambler. Edit 2. Added TLDR, also fixed very weird formatting issues that were not there when I hit publish last time. Edit 3. Friend edited this for me. Hope it's better now. TLDR, because long story and I can tell people don't like the length or my spelling. Roommate's mom asked me to drive to pick her up from an airport 2 hours away. Gets mad when I come and she leaves with her son, bailing on rent. Backstory. Before I start this post, I want to get some facts out there. Firstly, I'm going to a college that has no student dorms, so you have to rent an apartment that's close enough for you to get to school. Second, this all happened almost a year ago, so wording is paraphrased a lot. And lastly, this post would too long if I posted everything I experienced between these two, so I'm going to focus on one story and some background. I met my roommate when I moved down for college. I put a lot of money into the apartment, furniture, the security deposit, and several months' rent, paying off my entire half of our lease. His mom practically screamed, "Drug addict," when I saw her, though everything was always good between us as far as I could tell. She also called me her second son a few times. In May of 23, my roommate's mom was flying down from her house to both visit her son and to bring the rent payment for that month. Our apartment was around 30 minutes from the airport, so, due to not having a car, we asked a friend to pick her up for us. On the day of the flight, I got a message from roommate's mom, RM from now on. RM, hey, so I accidentally booked a flight for airport that's 2 hours away. Instead of local airport, I can send you some money out of the rent and you can go rent a car to come pick me up. I talked with a good friend of mine who had been picking me up for school to see if we could use her car instead and have RM pay for gas. My friend agreed and we set up to leave after our class, which was around 5 p.m. RM didn't like this at first because her plane landed at 3, so she would have 4 hours or so to kill before we could get there. But no matter what, it was going to be like that, and I explained that to her, so she agreed in the end again. Come the end of class, friend and I head out to start the journey to the other airport. While on the road, I get this text. RM, hey, so you can just turn around and go back. I have some friends here, and I want to give them some gifts I brought down with me from home, and I don't want to waste your time. Me, a little annoyed that we had already been driving for 30 minutes, text her back. But friend and I are already on the road, and have been for 30 minutes. Plus rent is due tomorrow and you have to pay it. RM and I have a little back and forth, but she then says she understands and gives me a new address to pick her up from. That's around 4 miles from the airport, where we were supposed to pick her up. Now, me and friend have fun on this car ride, blasting music and talking video games until when we were about 20 minutes out. I get a new text from RM saying her location has changed and that she got a hotel room and to just go back. My friend was not having any of it though, because it had been almost 2 hours of tourist traffic. We go to college in a tourist state, and we had a mission to do. When we get to RM's room, she actually agrees to come with us, packs her things in the car, then asks if me and friend had eaten yet. We hadn't, since we both normally eat after class. So she handed me $100 to go to a local diner and said she was going to just drop off the presents with my friends. My friend and I eat, and when we come back, we get into friend's car and I text RM that we are here. Now, before I continue, we had left around 5 or 6 and got there around 10 due to the traffic. Dinner made us stay out until 11. Friend and I were tired and just wanted to go home. RM texted me backing asking for 10 more minutes, which was annoying, but we agreed. And then another 10 minutes, and another, and another. This went on until 1 in the morning. At that point, friend had enough of it. We go to see where RM is at, and lo and behold, she's at a bar that opened at midnight. I text her saying to get out or we would drop off her stuff with the bar and leave. While we needed her for my rent, my friend and I had class the next day, which was in less than 12 hours at that point. RM starting ranting about how I am a mother who doesn't get to see my son that you live with. You don't understand what it's like to be unloved and taking care of kids who hate you. So just fuck off with it. You won't leave anyways, you need me to pay the rent, and if you leave me, I'll just go back home and you can suffer eviction. At this point, friend and I had enough of RM. For some extra context, at the time friend and I were both 18. We felt betrayed by RM. Took her stuff out and left it with the bouncer who was outside the bar. We then name-dropped RM and got told, "Oh, stay the hell away from her if you know what's good for you kids. She's bad news." Friend and I had a laugh as we went back to the car. Now, a little extra info. We would have been fine waiting so long if it wasn't that. We had class the next day at 11. The car was leaking. Something we were unsure what it was, and it seemed to just be a minor water leak. RM bitched at me on text as friend and I drove away. We just laughed it off until the car broke down, and in the end we had to get a motel room so that friend's dad could come down the next day and try and help us fix the car. RM kept texting me and changed tone from angry to, "Are you okay? This is why I said you shouldn't come. I just had this feeling something bad was going to happen. You should have stayed home and not come, yada yada yada." Honestly, I just wouldn't respond other than my text of, "Because you wouldn't listen to me, friend, and I had to go to a motel to stay the night. Hope you're happy." Was I a bit mad? Yes, but I also had been up since around 8 a.m. and it was past 1 in the morning and I was done acting like I could put up with her. The next day, my friend's dad was pissed about what happened and said she was lucky friend and I were 18, because otherwise he would sue the living crap out of her. I should mention, friend's dad is a lawyer, don't mess with them. He took friend and I out to get some lunch while we attended our class online with permission from the teacher due to what happened. Just a month after that happened, RM forced her baby boy to move out and back home with her. Mind you, her baby boy was the oldest in this group minus his mother in his mid-20s. They also tried to force the leasing office to remove his name from the lease because it was unfair that he wasn't living there and still had to pay. The leasing office did everything they could after he left. They worked with me until my money was all gone, around $10K, and I had to move out due to eviction. Although on records, they moved it to collections and only put my ex-roommate and his mom on the papers so that I wouldn't be bothered. Sorry for the long post. I've wanted to post this for a while and would love to share more stories that I have of this due. But I've kept you all here long enough. Thanks for reading, and ask me anything you want in the comments. I'll do my best to answer. Story 4. Update. Entitled Friend Makes My Life Miserable. Hello everyone. Check my previous post in my posting history for context. Long story short, I had friend, but now our conversations are awful arguing, and the advice on the last post was me getting into martial arts and even getting a restraining order against him. Also, before starting, I am fine with reposting my story anywhere if it credits me/links back to this post. Now the update. The cast: me, M14, AM17, my ex-friend, our roommate, our random dude. Well, since my last post, things went crazy. I mentioned in my last post that I and A went to a camp for 2 weeks. It was from Scout organization. Recently, A's parents contacted mine about a similar camp about skiing. Since I really wanted to learn better to ski, I went there. Problems arose on the 3rd day. When I was trying to sleep, he barged into the room, literally kicking the door with his leg. I and her talked to him about, but he brushed us off doing it again and started interrogating me with, how do I put it? Racial suggestions of me being his slave. We are both white. After multiple times I said shut up, and he ignored it. I got up and threatened to spill water from my bottle over him, with no real intention to do so, just for him to leave me alone. Well, he had grabbed the bottle and spilled it over me and my bed partly. A few insults later, we fought badly. As a result, we both had sore fingers, one each, and he got something wrong with his tooth. I thought that was the end of it since adults intervened. He tried lying, but his reputation wasn't that good, so nobody believed him. The next day, I tried to hold back the bench A was pulling away from dinner table, for fun I guess, to distance of 2 to 3 meters. He hit my hand twice with his and then with his thermos. I struggled to squeeze it even a little since it caused me severe pain for day after that. And if touched flesh between my index finger and thumb, it still hurts. 5 to 6 days later. For that, he only got receded further from me. I think the next evening happened the following. I took my meds for the pain in the hand. He barged in, sat on his bed and put legs on my charging phone on my bed, since they were about 50 centimeters apart. Also, he already had done the same but on my pillow and ignored being asked to stop. Now what happened next makes me believe he has problems with his head. After I asked him, "What the hell are you doing?" he replied, "Shut up, slave." I took his legs off of my bed and my phone onto the floor. He with, "What do you think you are doing?" or something similar hits B between legs. I sadly was sitting on bed facing him, which he later explained as intention to hit me on the legs, and he missed. Also, he said that he didn't expect me to hit him back, which I can only explain as him literally taking me moving his legs as some kind of unjustified attack. I rather pushed him than actually hit him. He started trying to yank my arm out, or at least badly injure it. After a few more pushing, he hits me right in the face. I still have a scratch under my eye that hurts. This happened on the Saturday, and I write this on Tuesday. At the time, I started bleeding from the nose. Also, I have to mention on the start of the commotion our left. I think he called RD from room downstairs. We were staying in the hotel. When he walked in, I asked him to call adults. Nothing major from there. We weren't talking to each other. But about an hour later, his stepfather, he was ski instructor at the camp, came to talk to us. Basically, A is rather so dumb or crazy that while making suggestive comments about me being instigator, he was displaying the behavior of one. For example, literally calling me it. Also, half an hour earlier, he told his mom the following: "It attacked me, I beat it up." And keep in mind that same thing sounds worse in our language. His stepfather only made us promise not to fight, since on the next day we would be coming home. Also, he said that he sees A is at fault here. The problem was we had to take 2 trains and stay in the country capital for 4 hours before going to our city. For some reason, me promising not to fight was taken as staying with him. So his mom got crazy when I'd gone away without him, and that I blocked him. He insulted me about me going away, so I did it. Luckily for me, we didn't share train compartment on my way back, since he had to stay in the capital due to his tooth breaking. All I know, he went to McDonald's. I am now home. My parents are on my side but promised to pay his medical bills. And his parents want all of us to talk in the end of the week when his stepfather comes back into town. What do I even say to them? You can ask for some clarification in the comments. I also have audio recordings and text conversations for additional context if you know Russian. To be clear, we aren't from Russia. Edit. He explained his side to my cousin. Basically, he admitted to attacking me, although downplayed what happened. Also, he downplayed my damage to him, to make him look stronger, I guess. Then he confirmed that tooth issues aren't due to my damage. Edit 2. I am going LC with my cousin. His response to this story, even after reading the post, was, well, it's A's name. No matter how much in common we have, nothing worth that disregard to a physical attack on me because I protected my space and belongings.